What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today's video we're doing an unboxing of the Canon C70, and I know traditionally when we're doing unboxing videos you're taking the camera out the box, but when I had purchased the C70 I had recently sold my C200 and I had a 2-camera shoot that was coming up, so I needed my new camera before I can do an unboxing. But I pretty much left all the contents in the box. I had got the pro grade 2 V90 SD cards, which is one of the biggest benefits for me of moving from the C200 to the Canon C70 as a B camera, is that the memory is a lot cheaper. So now I'm being able to get the 4K 422 10-bit XAVC, or some of the other codecs I can just use V90 cards, and truthfully you can get away with V60 cards as long as you're not shooting the 4K 120. Canon C70 came in a box and didn't come with any media, so I bought the twin pack from ProGrade. So let's see. So we open up the box. We got the traditional product registration, Canon C70. Might have to register that. And for some of you that might not be familiar with Canon Professional Services, whenever you buy a Canon lens, a Canon camera, register your product, because down the line when you decide to join the Canon Professional Service program, the benefit is you need a certain amount of points to get into certain criteria, whether it's the gold membership, the platinum membership, the silver membership, and each one of the different memberships, and there's a cinema membership, each one of the different memberships give you different benefits. You know, one of the dope things about it, like I think it's like $100 for the gold membership or something like that. I'll put a link in the description box below, but when I literally broke the LCD screen on my EOS R at one point, I sent it in, they fixed it, no charge, just like this. So that's a dope thing. So we have the battery charger for the C70. We have these are mountain screws. What else we have? The camera strap. You know, I hardly ever use a camera strap. I will say I really appreciate the little hand strap that comes with the C70 for gripping. You can make it a little bit tighter just so it fits in your hand. It comes super tight, or maybe I just got big hands because I had to adjust it, but I do appreciate that. We take it apart. What else we have? We have an AC power cord, the AC cable. What else we have? We have a top handle. So the cool thing about the Canon C70, which I appreciate, you know, some people might say, I think Sony makes great cameras, but the one thing I don't like about the Sony FX6 is that the XLRs are in the top handle, and for me, for the most part, I like being as stealth as possible. So I really appreciate the XLR inputs being built into the camera body 1 and 2 right here, instead of into the top handle that just came out, instead of the top handle, because now I don't really need this. I could just throw it right into my camera bag and get away with it. So we do have a top handle that comes in the camera. I appreciate that workflow wise. Top of the box. What else we got? We got the BPA30. So yeah, we got a BPA30. If you ever had a Canon C100 Mark II, it's the same cameras that came with it. The reason why I appreciate the BPA30 is, like I said, I literally took the C70 out of the box the first day I got it just so I can use it as a B camera on the shoot. So I slapped on my BPA60, and my other BPA30 went in the cell of my C200. But you see the BPA60 protrude out the back. And the biggest benefit now that we're shooting 422 10-bit XAVC instead of the RAW, the battery life on the C70 is a lot stronger than when I was getting off the C200 or even the C500 Mark II. C500 Mark II BPA60 gives me about an hour and a half of battery life, but it's a bigger camera, a lot more processing going on, 6K RAW, the autofocus tracking, and you know, shooting a 422 10-bit XAVC. It's just, I guess it's just eating up a lot more battery life with the C7 being a smaller camera, requiring less processing power. These are supposedly giving you about 3 hours, which is pretty dope, because now when we take this out, we slap on what belongs back here, a BPA30. It's a little bit more of a smoother fit, but as I said, I literally left everything in a box. I used it for a shoot, put the BPA60 in that, You know, I tested out. They say 6 hours. I was running for 4.5 hours and I still had juice left. So that's a welcome sight. But I do appreciate, like I said before, trying to keep my B camera or my running gun camera kind of sleek. So I appreciate the BP830s going to the back and there's nothing protruding out the back of the camera, which is cool. So I love that. We also have shotgun mic. As I said before, I appreciate this, having this option to put a shotgun mic on the top. I know I'm gonna keep my shotgun mic on the Canon C500 all day long, but ultimately, like I said, what I love about this camera, I'm gonna keep a really light profile. So a lot of times we're putting the Saramonic shotgun mic on the top because in addition to the 2 mini XLR inputs, you also have the mic jack right here. Big up to Canon, thinking of everything. What else we got? And we have the CA-CP200L, which is, yeah, this is going to plug into the battery charger. This going to the wall socket, so now you can charge up your BP830s or your BP860. You know, I got a couple of these things for my C200 and my C500 Mark II, so might wind up eBaying one of these. But thank you, Canon, for covering that. And that is the unboxing of the Canon C70. So let's toss that over there for now. We got this. We got, as I said, let's put everything here. We got the C70 on the table. Got the battery charger. We got the camera strap. We got the mic holder. We got the Pro Grade SD card V90. I love them. They work really, really good. V90s. I bought the twin pack, FYI. So we got this. Put some of this stuff to the side. That's gonna plug into this right here. So now we got the AC adapter. Take the battery charger out. Now that's gonna plug into right here. So you just wall charge it overhead. We're just gonna wall charge that, sync that up, and you know what? I'm gonna put a link in the description box. I don't want to guess what this is when I could just link it in the description box. I think so. Guess I can't think of everything. So that's what the look like will be with the Canon C70. So that'll be right there. And then just like traditionally, you have the brackets right here on the side. These 2 screws you normally put, that's what it's for. These screws are for, here, I'll do it for you. What are some of the biggest reasons why I got the Canon C70? I really love the DGO sensor. I love the fact, in addition to the DGO sensor, that it's an RF mount, and I have a Canon R6, which I'm using as my overhead camera. I wanted to invest in RF glass, but I couldn't justify that only having one camera that shot with native RF lenses, and make that change. And we know mirrorless lenses do have a greater future potential in terms of sharpness, clarity, and what they can do than the traditional EF mount glasses. But EF glass has been doing so well for so long that it has to be a reason for me to make that change or make that investment in getting some of the RF glass that I want. So now that I have 2 cameras, I have the 15 and 35 on the wish list. I'm looking to buy it. It's sold out, actually. So popular. So I'm looking to get a 15 to 35, and because now I have the C70, which is pretty much a crop sensor, super 35mm sensor. That 15mm is giving me something like a 24, so I can, I mean, I think that's gonna be a great little lens for me to handle everything. But in addition to that, you know, the small footprint. It is smaller than the Canon C200. I don't have to use C-Fast cards. And I love my C500, which was my dream camera. You heard me say this before on the channel in terms of like the specs that I wanted. Full frame, 6K RAW is a plus. The biggest benefit to me is the efficient codec to be able to do 4K 422 10-bit, which is downsample from a 6K image and still have reasonably, you know, good file sizes. Now, if I need the 6K RAW, if I'm shooting a bigger project or if my clients request that, I can always provide that service, which is dope as well. And look, that's the, you know, to be able to have the shotgun mic, have this low profile. I was like what we always kind of wanted in the C100 Mark II. I always said this. I will always hear me say this, the C100 has probably been one of my most profitable cameras in terms of like what it costs and the amount of work I've done. Most of my client work was done on the C100 Mark II. And when I upgraded to the C200, it was more for the reason of being able to have autofocus across all my lenses. And now the C70 gives me that with 4K 120, with the DGO sensor, which is going to be better in low light. And it has C-Log 2 built in. And if you're not familiar, C-Log 2 is the most, you know, efficient. I'm not gonna say efficient, it's just the best Canon codec for dynamic range. In terms of C-Log 2, it gives you up to, if you want to achieve 15 plus stops of dynamic range, you're going to need to use C-Log 2. A lot of times people use, and I've said this previously, a lot of times people use C-Log 3 when they're shooting in low light because C-Log 3 is a little easier to grade and it introduces less noise when shooting in low light or when there's more shadows present. But with the DGO sensor, I gotta say it's a welcome sight, because the benefit of the DGO sensor, which is dual gain output, taking the two readouts and combining it into one, is that now we're gonna have better, you know, less noise in the shadows. We're gonna have more dynamic range. C70 has up to 16 plus stops of dynamic range, which is just phenomenal in such a small package. And it also gave my 18-35 new life, you know. If you're not familiar with the Sigma Art 18-35, it is a f1.8 lens, which is, you know, dope, which is one of the sharpest, fastest zoom lenses out there on the market. I can't think of one right now off the back that's faster than 1.8, but that's a benefit. The other thing I will say that I noticed and I'm a little surprised about is that the Canon C70 did not come with a RF to EF mount adapter. I mean, an EF to RF mount adapter, as my Canon R6 did come with one and my Canon EOS R did come with one as well. So unless I'm looking at something wrong, yeah, that did not come in a box. So if you are buying a C70 and you're looking to adapt EF mount lenses, make sure you add that to the cart when you buy. I had an RF to EF mount just because I bought the Canon R6, so I had that. And on the Canon R6 I had the kit, so the 24 to 105 f4 to 7.1 lives on my lens, and the other lens I use on that camera a lot is the RF 35 1.8, which will probably be on my Canon C70 a lot now. But I'm praying that 24mm comes out pretty soon, because I think 35 is a little tight, a little too tight for the things I want to do on a crop sensor super 35mm camera. But all in all, I'm excited. You know, I think the Canon C70, what it adds in terms of built-in ND filters up to 10 stops, the new RF mount, the new DGO sensor, the new tech, the 4K 120. I was jealous of the C300. I've said that before, having the 4K 120. Now I have that in the C70, which almost cost me half the price, which is half the price. The SD cards now that I'm able to get this image quality out and use SD cards, that's saving me money on media and storage space, and still working fast and efficient. So I'm thankful. And then you have all the professional tools. You have false color built into the camera. You also have time code built into the camera, so that's the reason why it's Netflix approved. You know, all in all, the Canon C70 is a win. I did play around with the red Komodo. My boy purchased the Komodo, so I played around with it, and I gotta say, the Komodo image is pretty phenomenal. But in terms of run and gun work, a beat camera, like, I just couldn't find a better choice to my C500 Mark II than the C70. In addition to that, even if I wasn't doing run and gun work, you know, I still would probably lend myself to believing that I would have still went with the Canon C70, just because of the fact of, you know, the built-in ND filters, built-in XLR inputs, and just a slew of features that I think makes for independent filmmaking, and just, you know, flexibility and, you know, what you're creating is just, I just couldn't overlook that. Now, if I was someone that was always shooting on a set, always using a lot of lights, and I knew whatever situation I was going into, then I probably would have went with the Red Komodo. Red needs a lot of light to really take full advantage of that 6K RAW and the Red RAW files, the RG3 files. Phenomenal camera. I love that Komodo. I like it more than what I thought, but the Canon C70 still was the one I had to go with based on my experiences and just workflow. And yeah, I said that, and they both in the same bracket, you know, and that's a good thing about cameras now anyway. Blackmagic Pocket Pro 6K, you have the new Sigma F11 coming out, you have the Panasonic S1H. There's just so many cameras coming out, and now the Panasonic S1H just has a firmware update where it's shooting Blackmagic RAW. So shout out to Panasonic, shout out to these companies adding ProRes RAW and Blackmagic RAW. You know, it's a great time for us filmmakers. So as much as I love the C70, at the end of the day, if you are thinking about buying a camera, just write down a list of what you need, what your clients need, and what's going to benefit your workflow the most. And I always say efficiency is the most important thing in terms of creating content, especially for me. Efficiency is going to save you money, it's going to save you time, and it's going to maximize your creative potential. So that's the thing I'm going to say put first, you know. The Canon 1DC is technically the first hybrid camera. It was like a 20 megapixel sensor camera, but the Kodak was like MJPEG 4, which was so hard to edit that it never caught on, and it was like $12,000, which is like the reason why I get so excited about something like the Canon C70, knowing the Canon C70 is what the 1DC should have been for half the price. My Canon C500 Mark II does way more than what the 1DC can do. Well, that's another reason when you see people buy cameras and you like they spend a lot of money. If you've been in the game for a while, you also appreciate how much the prices have come down, you know. So my Canon C100 Mark II was more expensive than the Canon C70 when it shot. The Canon C200 was $7,500 when it first came out. So just keep that in mind. We as buyers and content creators who've been in it for a while, we are looking at the price tag knowing we paid more for cameras 3 years ago that could do half the amount. So yeah, efficiency is key, workflow is key, story is the most important thing. What you're going to do with your story, how you're going to tell your story. So just keep that in mind, and yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. If you got questions, feel free to comment down below. Think about subscribing to the channel, turn on notifications so you'll be alerted to new videos that'll be coming out. I'm gonna do some comparison videos, spin this up against the R6, spin this up against the C500 Mark II, along with other cameras. So as always, stay creative, be courageous, and get on your grind.